Hello, Tract Testimony. This is Brother Joshua, Tract Testimony Ministries. Tonight we're going to do a live video with Brother Kurt from Pray the Gospel. We're going to be talking about many different topics and just doing some chat about evangelism and about upcoming outreaches, and just encourage you with inspiring ideas, unique ideas, and to equip you and possibly read from God's Word, quoting Bible verses and all that good stuff. So get ready and grab yourself some popcorn, some drinks for tonight. Get a notepad, take some notes, and all that good stuff. We should have Brother Kurt here real soon. So get prepared. All right. So if you guys would like to, you can send in some comments about what you've been doing for outreaches, what you've been doing by sharing gospel tracts and all that good stuff, or conversations. Hey, brother.
Hey, Joshua.
How are you doing, man?
Good. Can you hear me just fine?
Oh yeah.
Cool. It worked for the first time, like right away.
That's good stuff.
We always have problems, and so far, no problems. My daughter's here too, Chloe.
Are you?
She's eating peanut butter right now.
Oh, that sounds good. What have you been up to, man?
Well, we were talking before, so I'm a little tired out from that workout.
Right.
I did a double dose tonight of two different workouts, so I'm a little tired from that. And the weather has been real nice here, so I've been biking to work. Well, today I biked to work. So yeah, we've been blessed this week. It's going to be in the 60s pretty much through Monday.
Nice.
After that, it's going to dip down to about 30 degrees, maybe 40s.
There you go.
Get some snow next week, probably.
Yeah, we had snow about the last week of October here in Missouri.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's nuts. I think I remember you talking about that.
And then now we're back up in the 70s.
Oh, nice. I've always wanted to actually visit Missouri, and at one point I actually wanted to move down there because we were looking at some homes. We have this realtor app, and this is before we bought our house last year, but like 2 years ago, we're looking at homes just randomly, oh, how much do homes cost over here or over there?
Right.
So we were checking out Missouri, and we found actually some real nice homes down there for not that expensive.
Really?
And I was actually getting excited about it, like, oh, we should move down to Missouri. And the weather down there, it's better than Wisconsin. I mean, you guys still get winters, but it's nowhere near like the kind of winters that we have up here. And I hate winter, so
I like winter.
The more I can get away from that, the better. But then I'm telling my friend Luke about that, and he's like, oh, it's not Missouri, it's misery. Because I guess the humidity is real bad down there or something.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, so we didn't make that decision, suffice to say. We bought this house that we have now. But in talking about, buying a house, I've been real busy still lately because I've been working a lot of overtime. I've been like really laser focused on trying to pay off the house as fast as possible. And the reason for that is that I want to free up that monthly payment. Then we can use that for other ministry work, like more gospel tracts and other outreaches.
Yeah.
Giving to organizations like Preborn. I love those guys.
That's right.
Or other ones as well. Have you ever heard of, oh, what's it called? The one in Eastern Europe that Todd Friel talks about a lot.
Gospel
Tomorrow Club.
small clubs.
Yes, I'm really excited about that. I want to do some more with those guys
What do
as
they
well.
do?
But so basically, it's kind of like it sounds like it's somewhat like a youth group type thing in Eastern Europe. So they have like these small villages, these small towns that nobody's ever heard of,
Really?
and they reach these people with these things called tomorrow clubs. So it reaches out to the youth, and then they learn the gospel through the different things that they do at these clubs. And then they bring that gospel home to their parents. And oftentimes, what happens is that well, the kids get saved, and also the parents get saved because they want to check it out. And Eastern Europe, it's not. It's a very dark place. There's a lot of like alcoholism, drug addiction,
Right.
things like that. So the gospel's needed needed out there, and not just that, but the religious atmosphere. There's not many Christians out there.
Oh.
So yeah, the gospel's needed out there. So that's something I'm really excited about too. And just I don't know, it's just been a huge focus of mine lately. That's why I've stayed on the overtime list. We can change if we want to be on the overtime list or not every quarter of the year. So that's why I stayed on it for this last quarter. Just get that payment as low as we can so we can refinance at some point at the very least and keep that payment low so we have more money for those other things that we can do.
Right.
And another thing I wanted to do as well, I was thinking about it for like right now. I think I'm gonna hold off just a little bit longer, but I wanted to create a fund so we can put money into it every once in a while. And then if anybody needs gospel tracts, I was gonna make a video on my YouTube channel, Parade the Gospel, about this. If anybody needs gospel tracts, especially those who have never used gospel tracts before or have really shared the gospel before, I just want to encourage them. And I talk about gospel tracts a lot. That's a very easy way to start sharing the gospel, or even if you're a veteran in sharing the gospel, it's a great way to still share the gospel using those tracts as well. But
Right.
especially for people who are very shy, socially awkward, and all that, like myself, I just want to encourage people to do that. And if they can't, buy the gospel tracts on their own, well, I'll buy them for that person, no problem, for free. They don't have to pay anything. So I just want to be a blessing. I want to be able to start something in people's lives, get them started. Just that little nudge, even if it's just my little pinky finger, just get them out the door. Tell them, hey, I'll buy you these gospel tracts. Please use them in the parade or leave them in places. Go
Right.
to the library, leave them in books or whatever. There's so many different ways you can use gospel tracts. There's like 1,000 different ways.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna hold off on that for now. Actually, I have this video that's about 2 years old on my YouTube channel, and it's about I film all these gospel tracts. I have them on my table. I just lay them out, and I'm telling people, hey, if you guys want any of these gospel tracts, I'll send them to you. I'll send you some of them. And I still get emails from people, hey, do you still got some free gospel tracts? And that was like over 2 years ago that I sent that. So I'll send them out. Well, I won't send those out because I don't have any more, or at least not many of those particular gospel tracts, but I'll just order something from Tract Planet,
Right.
a couple packs of whatever they want, and then I'll just send it their way, no problem.
Oh nice.
But I wanted to make a new video about that and describe more. I want to be very specific to people who have not really used gospel tracts before. Just to encourage them and maybe start something in them.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Hoping to do that sometime soon. But right now, just trying to pay off as much of the house right now as we can, get to refinancing, and then that way we don't have that much to put towards the house each month, so we have more for other things.
Right.
So that's kind of the agenda right now. But I've been working a lot lately, especially in October. These past few days have been okay. I haven't been working that much. Let's see, this Monday I have to come in on my off day. But we do have off. I have off on Wednesday because of Columbus Day, right? It's Columbus Day, I think, or whatever day is whatever special holiday is in November. Yeah, she's gonna go check it out. But anyway, so I've been pretty busy with that. I do have some good news though. So my friend Mary, she comes out and does all kinds of outreaches with us and with her husband as well. Veterans Day. That's the one in November. I think Columbus Day was in October. That was the one that we just had a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago. So she sent me a list of all the parades that are going to be going on for the holiday season, starting maybe around mid-November and onward. So why is that good? Well, it's good because parades have been canceled. Like every parade has been canceled all year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where there still are parades going on. If you look for them, there are still parades going on. Now, most of the major parades have been canceled. Manitowoc's been canceled. Appleton's been canceled. Appleton's a
Yeah.
humongous parade,
I did
but that's been canceled. So there are still parades going on. Two Rivers. Now I live in Two Rivers right now, and it's right next to Manitowoc. It's like just a couple miles apart, but their parade is still going on November 28th, and I am hoping that it doesn't get canceled, but it's still on the list. So trying to do that one. The only unfortunate thing about that is I have to work that day, and it's the day after Thanksgiving, I believe, on the Friday. That's when they usually have it. So when you work at the post office, if you have a holiday, the next day it is bonkers crazy.
Oh.
It's very busy. So if I can get out in time, I am going to do that parade. It's basically walking distance from our house, maybe like 10 minutes, not even, to walk down over there.
Nice.
So we don't even have to drive. So anyway, parades are still going on. And there's a bunch of other ones too. Some of them are much further away, so I won't be able to make them. There is at least one other one in a small town called Clintondale that I want to try to make. It just depends on my work schedule. I do work that day as well, but if I can get out in time and drive over there, then awesome. But I just hope to encourage people, if they haven't done the parade before, or if they have done the parade before, look in your area, search for those parades. They're still out there, probably more in the smaller towns, but they're still out there.
Yeah.
And I would, if you feel like, I know someone, or at least one of those parades, she wrote down in there that you can't hand out candy. There's no candy that's going to be handed out at that parade, but tracts are okay. So sometimes there might be something specific in the rules, like you can't hand something out.
Oh.
But then again, you're not technically part of the parade, so just use wisdom. Like, for instance, you might want to just walk on the sidewalk maybe and just hand a few things out here and there.
Right.
If there are some big restrictions or something like that.
Yeah, you mean like kind of like a low radar blend in?
You're right, yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing. I've always been nervous. Parades, because I never have done a giant one. But I thought, should I walk through the sidewalk instead, or should I just go fully up the street or not?
Yeah, well, I don't go low radar. Well, I mean, in a sense I do, because I just jump in there. I don't have, like, it's not obvious I'm part of the parade, I guess. Like, I'm not dressed up as something. I don't have flashy clothes or anything like that. I just jump in there and start handing away, and no big deal.
Right.
So in that sense, it's low radar. Excuse me. But if there are certain restrictions, like maybe a parade says, because of coronavirus, like you can't hand something out or something like that, then if you still want to do it, then I would just recommend just use wisdom, but maybe you can just go on the sidewalks where you're not so obvious, that you're handing out something.
Right.
And just hand out a couple here and there. So that's what I mean by low radar in that sense.
Yeah.
But otherwise, just any parade, I always just jump right in there and just go at it. Never had a problem. Of like the 50 or 60 parades that I've done, if not more than that, I've never had anybody try to stop us.
Nice.
So I mean, there is one exception, well, maybe two exceptions, but it wasn't me. So my friend Richard, I think it was maybe his first or second parade. I know he went, and somebody said something to him like, "Hey, you can't hand that stuff out." So then he went on the sidewalk, I believe, and he just walked down a little bit further, and then he went back into the parade and handed out some more. But that Appleton parade I was mentioning, the Christmas parade, which is super huge, a few years ago, me, Michael, and who else was there? I think Luke and his wife, and my friend Greg, and that was Michael's first parade, I believe, and he gave out like 1,600 gospel tracts, I think it was, just him, not counting all of us. There's something like 1,600 gospel tracts that he gave out, and I said to him that that's got to be like a record of how many gospel tracts a person ever gave out among us. That guy is just nuts. He just goes crazy getting those out, which is awesome. We need more people like that. But
yeah, man.
that same parade, though, so my friend Luke and his wife was across the street, and somebody told him that he can't hand that stuff out.
Really?
So, yeah, I don't know if it was somebody who was an organizer of the event or just some random person, but he had to leave anyway because he had to go pick up his kids. His pastor was watching their kids, so they had to go back to Manitowoc to do that. But yeah, we just kept on going. And what's funny too about that parade was that you go down so far, and there's this line of people that what's it called? They like vote on what the best vote is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you call those people, but so I didn't recognize that that's why they were there. They were on these seats and they had like their notebooks and stuff. And I actually tried handing them gospel tracts, and like, oh, sorry about that. And I just kind of kept, put my head down like low radar. Don't get spotted by them. Just kept on walking. But no, it worked out great though. And that's just all parades. I've never had an issue before. And this one right here, she's come with me on a lot of parades, and right, we never had issues before, right?
Since I was 3.
Since you were 3.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm almost 12.
Now she's almost 12. 11 and a half. Almost a half. Yeah, right before she turned 4, she saw me handing out gospel tracts at a parade event in Two Rivers, and she's like, I want to hand some out too. And
awesome.
I was kind of objecting at first. I don't know why. I'm like, no, that's all right, maybe next time. But she kind of just jumped in there and she started handing them out. I'm like, oh, wow, that works. People take things from a cute little girl or
exactly.
a cute little boy.
Perfect.
You can't say no to that.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. It was fun watching her. And yeah, the rest is history. And she's been with me helping out ever since. And my son Caleb the same. And Conrad, the next child, he helped us out a couple of times. And we gotta get Camden warmed up to it. He just turned 4 recently. And then our next youngest one after that, it's only 1. She will be 2 later this month on the 28th. Oh, on the 28th, that's Clara's birthday. That's when the Two Rivers Parade is.
Yeah.
About to do something special. Oh, just random stuff. My wife was like, what are you talking about? Random stuff. Gospel track. So, how do you want to swing this conversation? I got to ask you, how did Halloween go? How did your outreach go with that?
I have a bunch of videos on this page.
Okay.
Yeah.
I must have missed that. I've been busy.
Dude, that's probably the best Halloween I've had. I mean, if you look at the videos, it's very detailed. I got footage of people taking the candy out of the basket. I had Halloween music going. I mean, it's crazy, man. It was awesome. Each bag was filled with a huge, generous amount of candy with $2 million bills from Gospel Tract on it. So I had 25 bags total. All of them went. And I mean, it's like gospel bomb.
Nice.
So
you had a pretty good turnout with a lot of people in the area.
It was surprising. A lot of people were out. It was warm too.
Yeah. There wasn't. I don't know if it was. Okay, so for me, I had to work that day, and I ended up working a little bit late, so I got home kind of late. I'm not sure what's normal for this area because last year I had to work up until trick-or-treating was almost done. I had to work a lot of overtime last year, and it was snowing last year. And so I'm delivering mail, and people are out trick-or-treating. So I'm delivering mail, and people, like the customers, they have their bowls of candy, and they're giving candy out to the trick-or-treaters. And here I come with the mail, And they're like, "Oh, you want some candy too?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So they give me candy, and then I'm giving them the bills. That's a fair exchange, but that was kind of fun. But anyway, so I wasn't really sure like what it looks like in our area.
Yeah.
Normally, this year there was a number of people out there. Now, I'm not sure how it is by you, but Manitowoc has been hit pretty hard with coronavirus. I saw something about a week to a week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was an article mentioning how, or what were the top 10 hardest hit cities in the entire United States. And 8 of them were from Wisconsin.
Really?
The top 2, there was one from, I think it was Ohio or Iowa. I can't remember what the other one was, but Manitowoc was number 7. So it's or by population density, so it's not like necessarily the hardest hit as far as just the sheer numbers, but as far as population density is concerned. But
Right.
yeah, like every day we have like about somewhere between 50 and 100 or more positive cases. So I'm not sure how it is elsewhere, but anyway, in saying that, there's been a lot of concern about trick or treating. Like, oh, should we just cancel? I don't know how
I
you
didn't.
cancel. I don't know how a city can cancel a holiday. Like, it's not put on by the city or anything like that. It's just people out of their own will willing to do something.
Right.
But there were a number of people. So I get home a little bit late. My wife took the kids out, so she's out there getting some candy for the kids. And then I get home. Let's see. So I get home, eat something real quick. I change, and then I go out and I find my family. So I'm walking with them. I took the dog out. So we really didn't do much as far as gospel tracks. I did come home a little bit later with the kids. We still had more trick or treating time after that. And I have a friend from China. He's actually from the United States, but he's in China right now. And he ordered me the Living Waters Halloween pack. It's got all the different Halloween gospel tracks in there that you can use.
Nice.
So that was a pretty huge blessing. It's got the Curved Illusion, the comic book tract for kids. Let's see what else. I believe there's a $1 Million Bill one in there as well. But yeah, so that was a huge blessing from him.
Nice, man.
But yeah, not a whole lot of kids. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't know I don't have anything to compare it to as far as last year because I missed most of it last year. But there were still people.
Did you see this new track I brought out? I posted on that.
Okay, I gotta read it backwards because it's flipped.
Oh.
It says
Hang on. Let's try this.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I posted some pictures.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it basically describes what Jesus went through in detail.
Now you made that one, correct?
Well, I found this text off of Facebook.
Right.
And I asked a friend if I could use it, and then me and Andy started to work on it, and then found this picture, and then he got all edited, put everything together.
Nice. That is so awesome. I mean, that's an awesome idea, but it's awesome that we can make custom tracks through him.
Right.
Through Gospel Track.
Yeah, I got a new one that's coming in. It's my 4th custom track.
Yeah. Did you say it's coming out next year, I believe?
Well, I'm probably going to bring some other ones, but I'm going to bring one more out this year, which I just sent off the payment, and it'll be coming here soon. So, yeah, I can't wait. You're going to love it, man. The picture is crazy, dude.
Yeah, I really like the ones that you put out. I got to get me some of them.
Yeah, man. I wonder if Andy's going to put them where you can buy them. Like when people make custom tracks, I know he has it where you can select it and buy it on custom printed tracks on this page. So I haven't seen any of the tracks on there yet that I've made, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure how that works. I know that at one point I was able to see all the different custom tracks from other people.
Yeah.
And I actually ordered some once that was made by somebody else, and I just added the text in there about the Fully Free Films website.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a way. Like if I wanted to get that track that you made, I can just, if it's not on the website somewhere,
You
it
could
should
probably
be, but if
email
it's
him.
not, I just talk to him.
Yeah.
He's easy to talk to,
Oh yeah.
and we can work something out together. Yeah, that's one of the things I like about it, about track. I almost said Track Testimony, Track Planet, because he's so easy to get a hold of if you have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's having a baby pretty soon. I think this week.
He is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, they're having a baby.
Oh, that's cool.
I believe he said it was like this week. So maybe they're having the baby right now as we speak. Who knows?
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So he'll be busy now, but other than that, if you have to get a hold of him, he's
Yeah.
always available.
Oh yeah.
So how did let's see, how should I start this? Well, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the election.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything going on with that. Not, I'm being loud. Okay. Shh, quiet.
Yeah, my camera's a pain.
we have one of our friends, our street preaching friends, somebody that we labor with. His son is staying the night at our house yesterday and today, and him and his wife are out at a cabin up north enjoying some time. So, yeah, just gotta be quiet. My wife says I'm being loud, but yeah, what I wanted to talk about was the election, or not really so much the election, but just another way to get the gospel out. So I kind of have made it a tradition every major election, while the election is going on, while the votes are being tallied, while people are glued to their TV screens at nighttime, I like to go out and get the gospel out. So like 4 years ago, see, my idea like 4 years ago when I did this for the presidential race back then was that, okay, everybody's going to be stuck on their TV. They're not going to be worried about some guy coming up to their house putting gospel tracts on their door handle or in between their doors or whatever. So
True.
I did that. I think I did that before that too, but I know distinctly 4 years ago I did that. And you can see in people's TV screens as you look through the windows, you know, oh, yeah, it's on the news channel. They're waiting to see who the president's going to be, and all that. And they're oblivious to the fact that I'm leaving gospel tracts everywhere. So then 2 years ago I did that. Actually, 2 years ago I did that, and I was actually talking to you. I remember that. Actually, I put a video on my YouTube channel about that. I remember you were praying for me. We're kind of talking about it through Messenger.
Oh.
Yeah, I just remember that distinctly. I was out there. I actually took my bike out that night, and I was leaving gospel tracts in people's newspaper boxes.
Huh.
But I distinctly remember me talking to you when I was out there doing that.
Oh, I vaguely remember now.
Yeah, it was a great night. And then, so, okay, today is what, Thursday already?
Yeah.
And the election was, that was just 2 days ago. So on Tuesday, I went out again, and I did a bunch. I just took the bike out and just did the newspaper thing again. Newspaper boxes on the side of the road. So I stuck within the area here. But there's a lot of houses that I haven't reached yet. So one of the reasons, other than being a tradition of doing that, is that a lot of people are so hung up over what's going to happen as far as the election results.
Right.
And a lot of people are going to be upset, and a lot of people are going to, I guess, reaffirm their idolatrous nature and just, putting these guys so far up on the pedestal where they basically worship them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So at any rate, anyway, so one of the gospel tracts I was giving out was the Exit movie flyer that I made with the gospel message on the back because of, I mean, with everything going on this year, obviously with coronavirus and the job situation and things like that, there's been a lot of anxiety, depression, suicide, even unfortunately. And now with the election, at least half the people are going to be even more driven to depression and anxiety and, maybe possibly having suicidal tendencies. So I really wanted to get those out in particular, the Exit movie one with the gospel message on the back, because of that reason that there is still hope out there. Don't put your hope in politics. Don't, I have a whole thing about that too, just we waste so much time, even Christians, we waste so much time obsessing over politics. Not that it's wrong to do that, to be aware of what's going on, I should say.
Yeah.
And to be involved to some extent, but I just think we're putting so much hope in that
Right.
that we lose sight of the more eternally weightier things, like getting the gospel out.
Right.
I was thinking about, I wanted to share this too. In Ephesians chapter 5, it says in verse 15, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." And then it says, "Therefore do not be unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is."
Right.
And of course, we know that the will of the Lord is, one of the things is to get the gospel message out. That's what he commanded his people to do. But so that those couple of verses have been in my mind a lot lately, these past few days, especially the part where it talks about redeeming the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about time and like how much time, particularly with Christians, how much time we spend leading up to the election,
Mm-hmm.
how much time we spend thinking about, posting about, arguing with people about the coming election. But when we do our part, we vote, it takes like 5 minutes. At least for me, it takes like 5 minutes, right? Or maybe some people have to stand in line a lot longer, maybe an hour, something like that. But essentially, it's very, very short, but we spend so much time doing these other things. And what I would have to say to that, especially concerning redeeming the time in this context here, we could have used all that time that we spend obsessing, having anxiety over this stuff for the last year or more, as we are so overzealous with politics. We could have been using that time to spread the gospel.
Right.
And I do this too. I'm to blame myself, getting into arguments with people, especially online. You have a friend who posts an opposing political view, and you just want to beat them over the head with why they're wrong. And sometimes you can get away from sharing the gospel when that should be on the forefront, because you're not going to change somebody's mind by arguing with them. I mean, I don't know anybody who changed somebody else's political view because they argue with them on Facebook. So anyway, now we'll go on.
Oh, well, I mean, it's kind of like right here in First Peter chapter 1, starting verse 3, it says, and this is a reminder, something we need to keep our focus on. It says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who, according to his abundant mercy, has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of God through faith for salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time." So yeah, you see, it's like, that right there in verse 4, it says it won't fade away, and you know, elections will fade away, but our inheritance will not fade away. Our salvation will not fade away, and our, you know, our Lord Jesus Christ won't fade away. He's eternal, you know. But we have a an inheritance which is incorruptible and undefiled, which is going to come, you know. And you see that a lot of these Christians, I mean, who get sidetracked and they get so choked up about, let's say hypothetically, if Joe Biden were to win, that he would cripple this nation and lock it down. And I just think, but God is still sovereign. If we truly believe that God is sovereign, he has everything under control. And it's just like in that verse in Luke, I forget which chapter and verse, it says, when you see these things, look up, your redemption draws nigh. And, you know, God's plan's going to unfold whether we like it or not, you know. And, you know, if hypothetically Joe Biden were to win, God has placed evil rulers in times past in history, like Pharaoh, like Nero, like Pontius Pilate, like King Nebuchadnezzar, and like Adolf Hitler, and like Sumnan Hussein. I can't say his name, but you got many kings in the Bible that were evil rulers, and you have had presidents in the United States that have been evil presidents, you know, like Obama and like Clinton and like George W. Bush's dad, which was evil. The thing is, but God sometimes puts evil rulers in place, and God has a will and a purpose behind it. And sometimes it's because it's judgment.
Yeah.
And and it's like we as Christians, we have to stay focused on the gospel. That is the most important message we have to get out there, because souls are being swallowed up by the jaws of hell, and they will be cast into the lake of fire one day. And we have to keep preaching the truth and not compromise. Or this is what Satan wants. He wants us to get distracted with politics and get fearful and worried. And then, oh, see, he's won. Your focus is not on the gospel. You're distracted, and it's like, lay that aside and preach the word, you know. But yeah, those things, like you said, they're important, but not to the point where it becomes idolatry. And it's like, you know, we all can be guilty of all of it. It's like, so, but you know, the word of God, man, it's important.
Right. So as you were talking, I was thinking of several verses I wanted to share, but it says in Romans 8:28, and we all know this.
All things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose.
Amen.
Okay. So I was going to read it, but Chloe, what was that? Read it, say it slowly. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose.
Amen.
There you go. I wasn't expecting her to jump in and say that, but thank you, Chloe.
Well,
but yeah, so God does work all things together for those who love him.
Yeah.
No matter what happens out there, no matter how evil the days get. And we are still exceedingly blessed to be where we are, even if Biden does get in. We're not sure yet. I mean, of course, only in 2020 are things this crazy right now with the how things are going voting wise and how thin it is. Like the margins are very thin as far as the votes are concerned in
Right.
the different states that are going on right now. But anyway, no matter what happens, we are still exceedingly blessed, and we still have every what's the word I'm looking for? Like every right to rejoice in it. Even if things weren't going well, we still have every right to rejoice. God
Right.
is sovereign, just as you mentioned before, and He does set up the wicked rulers or the maybe not so wicked rulers, but nevertheless He puts them into positions of power. So whatever the climate is, whatever is going on politically, even if, let's say, that it becomes illegal to share the gospel. Let's say it gets that bad. I don't think it's going to get that bad under Biden, although some things will get pretty bad, I think. But still, we are still commanded to share the gospel. I mean, the apostles, they didn't stop sharing the gospel because it was illegal in that day or whatever lands that they were in.
Do you
And
know where that
people
verse
wanted
is
to
at?
murder them. What's that?
That verse where Peter was and John were saying to the Pharisees, "We cannot but preach what we."
Yes, right.
Yeah, he said. I was like, it's like Dr. John MacArthur said to the California government. He said, "We must obey God, not Caesar." And say the president were to try to stop us from sharing the gospel. Oh, at that point, you're asking me to do something that's against God. I'm to obey God. This is the gospel we're talking about here, sir. It's like, now we cross the line. So, if I had to go to jail for like a week or a month or two, you better.
We have a jail ministry.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to compromise. I mean, you will have to. I would. If they said to me, "You're not allowed to share the gospel. You must stop." I'd be like, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna fight. I mean, of course, I'm gonna have to keep a low radar more often, but I will find a way to be very sneaky. Very sneaky. It's like if I have to throw, if it gets so bad, if I have to throw the gospel tracts in toilet paper rolls in bathrooms, I'll do that. If I have to hide them behind the toilets in bathrooms, I will. I mean, I'm going to do what it takes. If I have to stick them in,
whatever it takes.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
If I had to bury
whatever it takes, eternity is on the line.
That's right, man. Come on. I tell you, man. I love the gospel. I'll die for the gospel. I'll be slaughtered for the gospel. I mean,
yes. God will give us that grace that we need to endure whatever hardships come our way. Like some people might be like, well, how, if it gets to this point, how am I going to remain faithful? How am I going to do what God wants me to do? Well, when the time comes, He will give you the ability.
It might be hard.
Stand strong.
But
I wanted to say though, you were reading First Peter before chapter 1, and actually, so Michael posted recently. Our friend Michael, he just read First Peter chapter 1. Like he wanted to share that a couple days ago, I think it was, and he was blessed by it anyway. So I picked up my Bible and I read it right away, and I kept on going, and I think I read the rest of First Peter. But such a powerful. I mean, that first chapter. Wow. So, but I wanted to read verse 6. It says, "In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while it need be you have been grieved by various trials, that the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen you love, though now you do not see him, yet believing you rejoice with joy inexpressible and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, the salvation of your souls. And we can keep on reading now, kind of want to, but,
You can
but
keep
that's just.
going. Come on, man. Preach it.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole, well, obviously the whole Bible is fantastic, but I really do love First Peter. And these days too, I think it talks about being pilgrims in this land. This land is not our own. So there's no use in trying to shine it up as much as we can while everybody is while everybody is perishing.
Right.
I mean, we are to be the best citizens out there. We are to be light. We are to be salt. We are to be an example to people of what it's like to be a Christian and all of that, and to show what God's love looks like. But this world is perishing,
Right.
and we need to be out there. We need to have boots on the ground and getting the gospel out there, laboring for Christ, laboring to get the gospel out. But yeah, I just love when it talks about greatly rejoicing. And rejoice with full or joy inexpressible and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith and all that stuff. I love when the scripture talks about that. Especially, I wanted to read this too in Matthew chapter 5. It's talking about persecution. And even in our persecution, I love this part. So after the Beatitudes, Coy, do you know the Beatitudes?
Mm-hmm.
Want to say it? Putting her on the spot. So anyway, after the Beatitudes, it says, blessed, well, actually, no, let's back up to verse 10. It says, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And then verse 11, I love this. It says, blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice, this is verse 12. Rejoice and be exceedingly, I love that word exceedingly, and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So we can rejoice and be exceedingly glad when we have persecution come our way. That's right. No matter what happens. I mean, we're not, the only kind of persecution that the majority of us are going to get, like, I don't know if you've ever been persecuted before, but the highest form of persecution I ever experienced was what? Somebody yelled at me, I guess. I don't think anybody did any bodily harm to me that I can think of. But in other nations, other countries, it's a lot worse. Now, some people here, yeah, they have been persecuted in more extreme forms. Well, the only like highest form of persecution I can think of, my friend Luke, one time me and my friend Luke were out at the late night Appleton bar outreach, and he had this tiny girl or woman, but this tiny woman slap him on the face, and she's tiny, but he just kept on going, sharing the gospel with her friend. I think it was her friend. But he told me later, he's like, "Oh man, that really hurt." for somebody with such a small frame as her. But yeah, she slapped him evidently pretty hard and just walked away after that. But he just kept on going. Like, if you were watching him at that moment when it happened, it was like just a whiff of air. Just, it's like, oh, whatever, and just kept on talking to whoever it was he was talking to. But yeah, we are blessed in this nation, even still, even if Biden gets in, we're still blessed. We have something still that not many people in this world have. But let's use that though. Let's use that to our advantage. Let's not waste it. Let's not waste the opportunity that we have to share the gospel.
That's right.
With our freedoms that we have. One thing that really bothers me a lot is that every single election cycle we talk about how we have to vote for the right person. And I'm not against voting. I'm not against that. Don't get me wrong. But Christians, just the majority of Christians, they talk about how we have to vote in so-and-so because they're going to strip away our Christian freedoms. But when that person does get elected, the one who's not going to strip away our freedoms, we still maintain our freedoms, we never do anything with it.
Oh,
we talk about it like, okay, we got to get this guy and that guy and this guy in, and then maintain our freedoms. But then it's like, we go back to being complacent. And this might sound a little harsh, but I forget how I used to say it, but most Christians today aren't doing it. This is going to sound harsh. I don't mean it to be mean, but most Christians today in America aren't doing anything worthy of jail. What I mean by that is even if it does become illegal, let's just say it goes to the furthest worst that you can possibly think of, and it becomes illegal to share the gospel. Most Christians aren't even doing that.
right.
So, yeah.
So this like sharing the gospel, is that like possible jail time? So,
Yeah, if it gets to that point.
yeah. I mean that's. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm ready to go to jail for the gospel if it comes to that point. Now,
Right.
I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. Like, let's say it does get to that point, and let's say tomorrow that preaching the gospel, sharing even gospel tracts, that's illegal. Would you still do it? That would be a question that Christians should ask themselves, just even as just a mind game, just to see where they're at with the Lord, perhaps.
Right.
What would you be willing to do or not do in a situation like that, if that were the case? I mean, we think about our brothers in China or some of the Muslim nations. If they are caught with the Bible, some of these people, that's it. Their lives are over. And what we have today, sharing the gospel tract, it's nothing. You're not going to get persecuted from that.
Wow.
So
That's a good challenge, man.
yeah, and just yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother subject though, about talking about just the complacency in the church today. Why aren't Christians excited about the gospel message? Another thing, going back to politics, is that we want to evangelize our political candidate that we want to win whatever office. We spend so much time arguing with people on Facebook or whatever. We are endorsing this guy or a woman. We are just pushing for that person's name to be known. We are evangelizing for that person in a sense. But how come Christians don't even have like half of that or a quarter of that passion for evangelizing Jesus Christ? They don't talk about him in those, even in those regards, or those that same passion for that they have for their political candidate. You know what I mean?
Well, until you got like a lot of false conduct. A lot of people who profess Christ but don't possess Christ.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's like what Spurgeon said. You have no wish for others to be saved, and you're not saved yourself. Be sure of that. And that.
Yeah, and Ray Comfort, he uses that quote a lot, and he follows it up by, you would have to have a heart of stone if you are watching a child walk into a swimming pool and that child is drowning, and you just sit there like, oh, okay, whatever, I'm going to go back to reading this book.
That's horrible. Yeah, it's like saw this on the way to the Master. It's like that fireman who was just sitting in his fire truck listening to a CD player while the people in the building were burning. And I think what I understand was that was a true story. And it's like how that's how many Christians are. They just so-called Christians. They just sit in the fire truck listening to the CD player while millions walk past them in public, not even caring to preach your soul. It's like, guys, it's as simple as a piece of paper. It's that simple. You don't have to open your mouth. You could just even wear the fullyfreefilms.com mask, the needgod.com mask, or a hat that preaches the gospel.
Bumper sticker.
Yeah. It's not hard. But the thing is, it's like, we all should, it's just like what it says right here. 2 Corinthians 13:5. Examine yourselves as to whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. Do you not know yourselves that Jesus Christ is in you, unless you indeed are disqualified? And it's like, if you're genuinely a Christian, you're going to have a desire to preach to the lost. It may take time. You may need to go to a training course to learn how. There's nothing wrong if you don't know how. It's just the thing is, you never desire.
But you will learn how.
Yeah, exactly. But if you never care to, you just be like, yeah, whatever.
So you know what's crazy is that, like, for myself, and I know you would be okay to admit too, that we're shy people.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm terrified of talking to people.
Yeah.
And if you know my backstory growing up, for me to talk to people, it's like I should be the last person on earth to have to share the gospel. Like it shouldn't be me.
Right.
But if you have that much of a desire to see souls saved, you will do something. You will, no matter what fears you have. It's not, I mean, you might have times where your fear might get the best of you, but you're going to overcome that. You're not just going to shy away and just completely abandon it.
Right.
Like there's been many times when I failed to share the gospel, when I knew that the Holy Spirit was telling me to share the gospel with so and so, and I rejected it, and because of fear. But you will have that drive in you that's going to get you over those things at some point. You're not going to be stuck in fear and not do it. But the thing I kind of think about though is that I wonder if it's not really a fear issue for a lot of people, it's just a desire issue. If you have the desire, that's going to overcome your fears.
Right.
I mean, you're still going to be fearful. Like I'm still fearful when I share the gospel with people, but I'm still going to do it because of the desire and the love for the people and the love for God, just obeying God as well. But I think for a lot of people, it's a desire thing, and they just don't have that desire. A lot of times when we're out sharing the gospel, whether it's at a parade or an open air event or just whatever, doesn't matter. A lot of times Christians who are hearing us or receiving tracts or whatever, it's very, very rare for them to be excited about what's going on. It's like they don't care about the proclamation of the gospel. They don't care the gospel is going forth. And I've experienced that a lot with people in various local churches that I've been a part of here.
Right.
There's really no encouragement, no desire to see us, like me, my friend Luke, or whatever. My friend Luke and I have a lot of stories to share about how we've been just rejected totally by many Christians locally because we are out sharing the gospel. Now, we're not trying to put ourselves on a pedestal by any means and say, hey guys, look at us, look at what we're doing. No, I mean, that doesn't make any sense, for one, because we want them to come out. We want them to be doing it as well. But we've really been rejected by a lot of people because we do that. And it's very weird. Like, how do you come against Christians who are trying to get the gospel out? It doesn't make any sense. But one thing that is kind of a litmus test, I guess, of the Christians in a given area, or when you're out sharing the gospel and they just seem to walk by you and not a care in the world, or they give you that disgusted look or whatever. It's well, first of all, it's very rare that somebody will say, "Hey, I'm praying for you. Keep up the good work," and they try to encourage you. Sometimes that happens, and that's great, but it is a litmus test, I think, of the um, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
How much they truly.
well, you know what? Like, okay, so we're talking about false conversion, 2
Yeah.
Corinthians 13:5. I guess it really shows how much of a problem we have in our local churches and how many of us might even be false converts if you don't care about the gospel proclamation.
Right.
And one thing, too, that I think about a lot is that of all the gospel tracts that we give out, when we do parades, maybe half or a little bit more than half of the gospel tracts that we give out has our contact information on it. It is exceedingly rare of the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of gospel tracts that we have given out. Why wouldn't one Christian from among that bunch that received the gospel tract from us, why would they not email us and just say, hey, we were very encouraged by you giving the gospel out. We just wanted to say that we were praying for you, something like that, but we never hear from anybody.
Right.
I mean, certainly of thousands and thousands of people who are at a parade, some of them have to be believers, right?
Oh yeah.
But we never hear from those people, or whatever other event, not just parades. It could be anything else. We just never hear from them, and it's the same way in the church, unfortunately. And that's, you know, hours and hours long conversations we can have about that with stories that we've experienced, especially my friend Luke and I. But it's just really sad to see that. How are we not passionate about the gospel going out?
Well, yeah. It's like I not too long ago I came across some people who I offer a gospel tract to, and they profess to be believers. And I said, "Well, hey, why don't you keep it and share it with somebody?" And they're like, "No, no, no, no," and they were kind of about it. And I was like, so I thought something's not right here. You're professing to be a believer, but you're having an attitude. You don't want nothing to do with that track. Sounds like I'm not saying you're not saved, but I do have reason to challenge that salvation. It's like, huh, weird, you know?
I think one of the major problems in the church today is that we aren't teaching evangelism. We're not talking about the importance of it in our churches. I this is just my opinion, you know, take it or leave it for whoever's watching this, but I really, really think we should be teaching evangelism Sunday morning. Not, and I'm not necessarily saying every single week, but I'm saying that we should teach it when the people are there. We should make it that much of an importance. We shouldn't be, so let's say we do teach on evangelism. And by the way, for my area, Manitowoc, I've been a Christian now for 20 years this month. Actually, I don't have the exact date, but 20 years ago, sometime in November, early November, I think, I got saved in the jail cell. But 20 years I've been a Christian, and I can only think of one time, one day when evangelism was taught in this area in 20 years. And I have a pretty good pulse on what's going on in the surrounding churches. And I'm not saying that it was never taught elsewhere, but I'm just saying of all my experience, I can think of just one time, and it was only one day. It was basically a crash course in evangelism. My friend Trevor taught it, and that was very awesome that he had the opportunity to do that. But it's just sad though, just one single day, and it was pushed aside. Like I personally think it should be on a Sunday morning when the people are there. I'm not saying like replace it with the Sunday service, the sermon that the pastor has prepared for. Although I do think the pastor should be leading by example and not just talking about evangelism as if it's something that we all do, but he should be leading the congregation into evangelism.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
Well,
because usually when it is taught, the very super rare times that evangelism is taught is that it's pushed to the back corner of the week when nobody can show up, and interest isn't even there to begin with. But if it was done Sunday morning when the people are there, Ephesians chapter 5 talks about how he gave some to be apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. Now, we know that some people argue about the apostles and prophets, are they still functioning today, or are those offices closed today? But nobody argues about the pastor or the teacher, right?
right.
And some people put those together. But what about the evangelist? And it says for the equipping of the saints. But we like, where is that person in the church today, in the local church?
Right.
We never talk about that, but that person should still be there.
Well, I think the problem too is a lot of churches that may teach evangelism, they just don't teach it the way Jesus did. And they completely teach it in a way that's modernized and watered down and really, sloppy. And
Yeah.
they use a sugarcoat it's versus the verses that make you just floor you, and Jesus didn't come just talk about love and mercy and stuff. Jesus, he talked so much about hell and judgment day, and he used the law of God. He fulfilled the law, but he used the law with the lady at the well, and when he was drawing his finger in the sand, Ray Comfort said most likely, he was writing the 10 Commandments, because that's why the Pharisees' conscience was pricked so bad, and if we are to preach on evangelism, we must preach it like Jesus Christ did and stick with that alone, and maybe more people will evangelize. But when you use it in such a modern way, people seem to not take it serious. They seem to get burnt out. But
yeah, there's a lot of problems, I think, with modern evangelism. I think one of the things is that people think that if you talk about sin, then it's bad. Like, you're not supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to talk about judgment. I don't know if people think that, like, if you are being persecuted, then you're doing it wrong. Yet the Bible promises if you are living a godly life in Christ Jesus, you will be persecuted. That's one of those Bible promises that you would never find in the Bible promise book. I don't know if you ever got one of those before, but I did a long time ago, and I didn't see that verse in there, but it's the Bible promise.
Right.
I did want to bring up, though, one more thing, too, about teaching on evangelism. So I mentioned how there is only one time that I can think of when I have seen it being taught. Well, there was another time, although this wasn't like for the adults, it was for the youth. So my friend Luke, he's dear brother in Christ.
Right.
He was given the opportunity to teach the youth group at the church that we were both going to at that time. And there was only like 2 or 3 people that were going to the youth group at that time. It's a very small church, okay? So what was sad about that is that instead of teaching the adults, those who are saved, or saved, pending 2 Corinthians 13:5 and all that, but those who have been to church for years, who have hundreds or thousands of Bible studies under their belt, instead of teaching those people how to share the gospel, we're teaching the youth who are still in that stage of, I'm just going to church because my parents take me to church, and who also have a 90%, based on statistics, about a 90% fall away rate after they go to college or whatever. I think that is wrong. Why are we basically putting this on the youth? And why aren't the adult men or just the adults stepping up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he was leading that course. It was the Way of the Master course, actually. He was trying to teach that. It didn't go through all the 8 weeks. He didn't make it that far. I think it was like 2 people. It was either 2, I think 2 or 3 people. But one of the girls was bringing her atheist boyfriend,
Uh-oh.
which says a lot about, why are you dating someone like that? But anyway,
Exactly.
nevertheless, I mean, at least he was there to hear the gospel being presented. So there,
That's good.
there was that. Unfortunately, now today, though, she is living with this guy and they're not married, but that's, anyway. So one of the other kids was just really rude during the whole thing. Not the atheist, but the other person who goes to that church because his parents go there. That was kind of messy, and they weren't really paying that much attention. They just, they just didn't seem like they were interested. But this is what the church decided. Okay, we need to teach the youth this. Why aren't the adults stepping up and learning this stuff?
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense. And then there was only one other time I heard that evangelism was taught, but it was to the youth. It was in the youth group. I mean, I'm not against teaching youth how to share the gospel. Don't get me wrong, but how come the adults aren't learning for themselves?
Exactly.
So, but anyway, yeah. So back to the point though. In 20 years, I've only really seen it taught once, to my knowledge. It's not on the forefront. It's not high on the priority list. It should be. And in 2020, this year, coronavirus, a worldwide pandemic. Now, obviously we as Christians and just people who are, conservative, we have different thoughts on it. A lot of us might have thoughts on that, but nevertheless, worldwide pandemic, people are dying, economy shutting down, and all that stuff going on. People are killing themselves. Things are nuts out there. If there's ever a time when the church should be rising up
Now.
and getting the gospel out, it is now. And the part that just drives me crazy is that I have not seen even a slight uptick in desire to share the gospel. Even during a worldwide pandemic when people are dying, whether they're dying from the virus or from suicide or whatever, not like literally nobody's talking about it. Like, gee, I think we should be getting the gospel out. Nobody's talking about it. Other than people who are already involved and invested in evangelism. Basically 98% of the church is just clueless, or not clueless, but just passionless about it.
Yeah.
So it's sad. I mean, I don't want to
Well,
keep going on a sour note like this, but
I mean, Jesus talked about these churches in the early chapters of Revelation. The false churches, or at least people within the church that are false. Like lukewarm Christians, which are false converts. So, but man.
But if you I want to say this though. Bridget mentioned this in the comments. She said, Jesus said, "Follow me, and I will make you a fisher of men." And I love that verse. And she says, so in other words, if you're not being a fisher of men, you're not following him. But so Jesus said that, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." If you're following Jesus, he will do the making. He will make you a fisher of men. He will guide you into getting the gospel out, fishing for men.
That's right.
So
It's good.
we need to make that a priority in our lives. Those who aren't, I really hope that we can, like me, you, and anyone else that we know, we can in some way bless those who are maybe not sharing the gospel right now. We can encourage them to do that. And Jesus did say, pray for laborers because the laborers are few. So make sure that we are always praying as well. But yeah, man, I mean, this year was definitely an eye-opener for where the church is spiritually in this nation. I mean, we can have the most pro-conservative people in office. We can fill the House. We can fill the Senate with let's just say 100% conservatives, have a die-hard conservative president, and everything is looking great, except people are still perishing. That should be our focus. That should be our concern. Not that other things like in the political realm aren't important or anything like that, but where is our focus? This world is not our home.
It's not. We got like Peter talks about, you know. I think it's in First Peter 1 that our the heavens is awaits us. You know, it's not going to perish. Except when the new heaven and the new earth is established, that then, you know, God creates a new heaven, new earth. But, you know,
I just want to. I just randomly looked at this verse, but I got to read it because I love this part. But if you don't mind, 1 Peter 1:22, I'll start at. It says, "Since you have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit and sincere love of the brethren, love one another fervently with a pure heart, having been born again, not of corruptible seed, but incorruptible." Through the word of God, which lives and abides forever, because all flesh is grass, or is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of the grass. The grass withers and its flower falls away, but the word of the Lord endures forever. And then it says, "Now this is the word which by the gospel was preached to you." And so on. I just keep on reading. But yeah, I mean, this all flesh is as grass. It's here today, gone tomorrow.
But the word of God is forever.
Indeed.
Yeah, heaven's going to be forever.
But the part 2 with First Peter that really nails, and other parts of the Bible, is that promise of heaven, that eternity that awaits us. What is incorruptible versus what we have here on this earth. This is not our home. It talks about being pilgrims or sojourners in this land. So we are here. We have a job to do. We need to fulfill that.
That's right.
Be a soldier for Christ.
That's right. Amen. Oh, man. It was good fellowshipping with you tonight. If you can keep me in prayers, I got some big outreaches this weekend. I'm going to try to get some video